Hello and welcome to the La Liga preview. Today we'll be previewing Matchday 17. My name's James Harrington, and if you're new to the channel, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and that notification bell so you never miss an episode. But let's start with recapping Matchday 16. So this is the table, how it stands at the time of recording before the final two matches take place on the 31st of December. Atletico remain top with their win versus Getafe, 2 games in hand on second place Real Madrid, who drew to Elche. Sevilla are now into the Champions League spot with their win against now 5th place Villarreal. Coudet remain in the top half of the table with their draw against Valladolid. Valencia now down to 17th after their loss v Granada. Valencia haven't won since their match against Real Madrid in early November. And Huesca remain bottom after their defeat to Celta Vigo, but only 3 points from safety. Okay, well the pick of the fixtures this weekend has to be Real Betis versus Sevilla, the Andalusian derby. Now a bit of history lesson for the context between this rivalry. Sevilla were formed in 1890 and Betis were formed in 1907 in spite of them. It was perceived that Sevilla were picking players from the wealthiest parts of the city. Therefore, Real Betis represents the working class. The two teams didn't actually play one another until 1915, where the underdogs Betis drew first blood with a 1-0 victory. Fast forward, the two teams have had quite differing levels of success. Since then, Betis have only won 1 league title in 1935 and 1 Copa del Rey in 2005, whereas Sevilla, since 2006, have won 6 Europa Leagues and 2 Copa del Reys. It is a very passionate and fierce rivalry, played under the beating, pulsating Andalusian sun. However, at this time of the year that's not the case, but it adds to the imagery of the ferocity of the relationship between these two teams. Now let's look at Real Betis. They've had quite inconsistent league form this season. They do sit 10th and have picked 19 points from 16 games. But the big problem for Betis has to be their defence, the porous nature of it, having conceded 26 La Liga goals, the most of any team this season. Let's look at their most recent game in particular, against Levante, where they lost 4-3. Now this was a Levante of old, a very attacking team, and it was a surprisingly more interesting fixture that many people had billed. Now looking at the goals in particular, let's take away the brace from Morales, which was 2 brilliant goals from the Levante player, and let's look at the first goal, which was scored in the first minute, a set piece, a header by Oscar Duarte in what was a non-existent defending from Betis. And then let's look at the fourth goal in the second half. Morales the provider this time, but Roger Martí was able to get in between the two centre-backs and tap the ball home. The defence really would be concerning for Manuel Pellegrini. What was the only positive of this fixture was the return of Sergio Canales, who was back after 6 weeks being injured. A big problem this season for Betis is the absence of key players like Marc Bartra, William Carvalho. But thankfully they've got Canales back, who is clearly the best player in the team by a country mile, and he contributed 2 goals in what he only played in the second half. What Canales said was very interesting in the post-match analysis. He said, recognising it was great to be back, it was a bitterly disappointing result and clearly showed the weakness in Betis defending, and he didn't lay all the blame at the 4 defenders, rather it was a problem throughout the team that they're not defending. Another problem that was picked up in the analysis of Real Betis versus Levante is Nabil Fekir, who is seen as a creative outlet and a real attacking threat for the team. However, this season has not been firing on all cylinders. His last goal came in, I believe it was Matchday 2 against Valladolid, and that was a penalty. But what was the notable problem against Levante was he was coming quite deep to get the ball and trying to create attacks going forward. However, he has so much ground to cover, they kind of petered out going forward. What Betis needs to do is get the ball to Fekir higher up the pitch, and hopefully he can create more shots and assists. I think he only had 1 shot in the first half till he was pulled off at half time. If I was Pellegrini, I would be glad the January transfer market's now here and that there could be reinforcements, but unfortunately for him, he can't do any incomings due to financial fair play. So he said he's going to have to stick with the squad he's got for the rest of the season. So they need to be able to solve their defensive problems and get the best out of Fekir if they're going to have any chance of creating more of an impact on the league this season. Now let's talk about their opponents, Sevilla. Sevilla. This could have been their season. They could have won the league. The unique context that we're playing in, the congestion of fixtures, could have been the moment they slipped in and won the title. However, they've kind of fallen away now, and it's really a two-horse race between the likes of Atletico and Real Madrid. But Julian Lopetegui's men do play good football. They play a 4-3-3, possession-based attacking style of football. Their defenders like to play long diagonal balls, and they have a really strong defensive unit. Only conceding on average 0.77 goals per game. But the problem with Lopetegui's men is their offence, only on average getting 1.15 goals per game. They've tended to favour playing Luke de Jong in previous weeks. Now, he's a great target man, don't get me wrong, but he's got quite a defensive mind and probably won't get you all the goals that you need to put you in title contention. They've got Youssef En-Nesyri, the Moroccan striker, who has a knack for getting late goals and, to be honest, probably should be the number one choice for Sevilla. Let's look at their most recent game. They won 2-0 against Villarreal, a top of the table clash, as it were. Now, it was admittedly 2-0 kind of throws at that argument they're having problems scoring goals, but I think what was most notable in that performance was actually the weakness and the flat nature of Villarreal themselves rather than an outstanding Sevilla team. They got an early goal through a penalty given from a handball by Juan Foyth. And then the second goal was actually the impressive goal where Lucas Ocampos dispossessed Ruben Peña around the halfway line and shot a nice through ball to En-Nesyri. What was also noticeable in this match, and has been kind of the style of play for Sevilla the bulk of this season, is their dependency on their fullbacks, the likes of Jesus Navas and Acuna pushing forward. Now, Acuna in particular for me stood out in this game. Whilst it was given to Campos the man of the match, I felt their Coudet, Carlos and Acuna were the three best players for Sevilla that game, with Coudet and Carlos mopping up every attack that Villarreal had to throw at them, and even Carlos' clearance of the ball was the start for the second goal. What you can say about Sevilla is that they really are lacking wingers. Okay, with the exception of Lucas Ocampos, who's unique in the sense he's this 6'2", quite aggressive winger, had a really strong last season. He's really the only one able to get into the box and create real attacking opportunities. Suso was playing and he did get a wonder goal the week before. However, he was pretty much missing for the bulk of this match. Now, going into this game, what do I think the prediction is going to be? I think it's going to be a very tight affair. Last season, Sevilla did the double on Betis, and I think they're going to win this time around. I think it's going to be a 1-0 win, Sevilla. Let me know what you think in the comments below, but I think Sevilla would just edge it against their Andalusian rivals. So the other games to talk about, the pick of the fixtures, has to be Real Madrid versus Celta Vigo. Let's look at Real Madrid first. They've just come off the back of a 1-1 draw with Elche, a result they probably hoped they could have got a win, but it was actually a really impressive Elche performance, I feel. What was interesting about that game was the selections. They brought Marcelo back in the fold. Now, Mendy has been by far the number one choice this season, because Marcelo, to be honest, was exploited in that game. Elche really went at him. Whilst he was good in the attacking sense, he doesn't seem to have the energy for the defensive nature of his role. With the likes of Rigoni and Lucas Boyer, a lot of the attacks going down that wing. Also, they brought Marcos Asensio, who had been a bit of the wilderness, let's say, but he had an impressive performance against Granada, and then was also the contributor to the first goal, where he had a shot rocketing outside the area. Edgar Badia's save, but it hit the crossbar and Modric headed it home. He was the fastest to react. First goal, headed goal for Modric since 2009, been a while. But that being said, I don't want to take anything away from Elche. Whilst they only had like 32% possession, Madrid were the more dominant team in the first half. They came out fighting in the second half, and a big plaudits has to go to their goalkeeper Edgar Badia, who made about 5 saves and was the king of the match. What was noticeable in this game was that was the first time in a while Benzema didn't seem to be at it, because he has been brilliant in recent weeks and is playing some of the best football he has played in a long time. What has been noticeable about Real Madrid, especially in the fixture of the festive period and since November, since that result against Shakhtar, which really shook them to their core and it seemed like Zidane was on his way out, is the team really are playing for him now. with the likes of Kroos and Modric like fine wines, getting better with age, and Benzema playing very well. They got a good result against Granada and should be happy that they're now back in title contention. Still though, this doesn't help their charge to get back-to-back championships, but it's looking a bit more rosier for Real Madrid as the season ends than it did a couple of weeks ago. Now let's talk about Celta Vigo. Celta Vigo look a totally different outfit under Chacho than it was under Oscar Garcia. Under Oscar Garcia they were very defensive and trying to protect the goal, whereas it's very free-flowing and attacking under the likes of Coudet. They play an interesting formation of, I believe it's a 4-1-3-2, and they really use the attacking threats of Denis Suarez, Santi Mina, Iago Aspas, Brais Mendes and Nolito. It seems like they're just hoping that they'll get more goals than the opposition. Actually, there's a really good article in The Guardian by Sid Lowe, who's obviously the Spanish expert, but do check it out. And he talks about how Coudet has revolutionised Celta Vigo. One player that does need to get some plaudits as well, not just the attacking players, because Aspas, I must say, is in the form of his life, has to be Renato Tapia. The Peruvian midfielder has come in and he's shielding that defence whilst the rest of the team push forward. On the most recent game, they've had a win against Huesca, 2-1, where Nolito got the goal from an Aspas assist and then Aspas got the second. It has to be said that Aspas probably is, or potentially is, the best player in the league at the moment this season. Do correct me if I'm wrong, but I've been so impressed with him. He's now on 8 goals for this campaign. That being said, what do I think the result's going to be between these two sides? I think it's going to be a really exciting match and one I'm definitely looking forward to. And I'm thinking it could be a 2-2 draw. I think Celta Vigo will really get some goals. Classic dominant performance for Real Madrid, but I think it will be a close encounter. Okay, well that's it. Thank you for watching this episode previewing Matchday 17. If you did enjoy the video, hit that thumbs up, that notification bell, the subscribe button if you're new around here. Comment below your score predictions, and I hope you have a happy new year, and I'll see you in the next episode where we preview the next round of fixtures. See you next time.